As expected, most British parties are avoiding the Brexit issue ahead of the election. But Brexit has had a far-reaching negative impact on the British economy and on trust in politics. With voters disillusioned and no easy solution in sight, most parties are putting the EU exit issue on ice now. Politicians vying to win the upcoming UK election have opted for a typically British response to an uncomfortable problem. Whatever you do, don't mention the B word. And Brexit, Britain's exit from the European Union more than 4 years ago, has had, as I said, far-reaching effects on the British economy and the world's largest trading union. It has been blamed for further straining an already weak economy, deterring investment, fueling inflation, and failing to stop record levels of immigration. And many voters now regret their decision. The ruling Conservative Party, which ran in the last election in 2019 on the slogan "Get Brexit Done," is keen to avoid putting more emphasis on its former flagship issue, as around 3/4 of the country think the terms of leaving the EU were poorly negotiated, as a YouGov poll shows. Only 15% of Britons believe the benefits of Brexit outweigh the costs. In an hour-long speech to launch the party's manifesto ahead of the July 4th election, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak mentioned Brexit only twice, and that in passing. The opposition Labour Party, which is heading for a major victory, also rarely talks about Brexit. Its leader, Keir Starmer, has said he wants to improve relations with the EU, for example on security issues, but has ruled out rejoining the single market or the customs union, which wouldn't be easy anyway. In his speech to launch the Labour's manifesto last week, he did not mention Brexit once. Labour strategists feared that criticising the policy or promising to reverse it could alienate a core section of working-class voters in post-industrial British heartlands who voted for Brexit in 2016. That group of Leave voters had traditionally supported Labour, but switched to the Conservatives in 2019 over Brexit. You remember the Red Wall discussion. Labour is now winning them back on the back of the weak economy, but sees little point in reminding them that Starmer had campaigned vigorously for years to remain in the EU. That was said by Charles Grant, the director of the Centre for European Reform in London. If you talk about how you want a closer relationship with Europe, Leave voters remember they are Leave voters and might go back to the Tories. So you say, shh, don't talk about Europe, he said. Starmer has rejected suggestions he does not want to talk about Brexit. Yet, during a lengthy televised debate between Sunak and Starmer, the subject was not even raised. It is extraordinary that an issue that has dominated British politics for years and whose consequences have significant implications for the economy is not addressed by either party, said David Gove, a former Conservative Justice Secretary. The UK's relationship with Europe has dominated the country's political debate for years. The Conservatives launched the referendum to resolve a growing conflict over Europe within the party, but it ended up dividing the whole country. The narrow victory for Brexit was the first in a series of populist shocks that impacted Western countries, including the election of Donald Trump as US president that same year. After the 2016 vote, the British political class spent years arguing over the terms of leaving the EU, weighing the pros and cons of access to the single market against control over its own rules and borders. In 2019, the Tories under Boris Johnson won an overwhelming majority by promising to finally secure a deal that would come into force on January 31st in 2020. The final deal came closer to a hard Brexit, leaving the European single market for goods and services and ending the free movement of people from the EU to the UK and vice versa. In the years that followed, Brexit made the UK economy about 5% smaller than it would have been otherwise, at least according to Goldman Sachs, as investment and trade in goods fell. It also contributed to higher inflation in the UK compared to other Western economies. Less predictably, it also led to a surge in legal migration. The Conservative government allowed in a record 2.4 million migrants from around the world in the last 2 years, partly to ease labor shortages in areas such as healthcare, double the immigration levels than in the years before Brexit. And meanwhile, with government coffers strained by COVID-19 bailouts and lost economic growth, taxes rose to their highest share of national income since the 1940s. The result is that few who voted for Brexit are happy with the outcome. Those who saw it as a protection against globalization are disappointed by the flood of immigration. Those who saw it as a means of freedom from EU regulations to create a more competitive economy have not benefited from it either. Trust in the British political class has collapsed now. About 45% of Britons now say they almost never trust governments to put the nation's interests first. That's a record high according to the UK's National Centre for Social Research. Most Britons are also tired of talking about Brexit after years of wrangling over divisive issues that pitted friends and family against each other. It's like touching something and getting an electric shock. You won't do it again anytime soon, said Mike Galsworthy, chairman of the European Movement UK, which advocates for Britain to rejoin the EU. There appears to be little interest in London or Brussels in reversing Brexit. To rejoin, the UK would need to show the EU that there is political unity over the decision and that it would not leave again in a matter of years. And while few believe Brexit went well, about a third of voters would still vote to leave, as polls show. Rejoining would also likely require the UK to adopt the euro as its currency, something it had previously opposed. Among those who no longer talk much about Brexit are the Liberal Democrats, a mid-sized political party that came to power in 2019 on a promise to scrap Brexit if they came to power. 15. They wanted to come to power there. Now they talk more about water quality issues, although they say they want a better trade deal with the EU. We believe that in the long term we need to get back to the heart of Europe, said party leader Ed Davey when asked about the issue. Today, the only politicians openly cheering Brexit are those of the upstart Reform UK party, which is running on an anti-immigration platform and calling Brexit the chance of a lifetime that was betrayed. Its leader Nigel Farage, who helped engineer Brexit, says the country must curb immigration. The party is polling at, mostly at 12, but at the moment in one poll at 19%, drawing right-wing voters away from the Conservatives. And in Scotland, which voted overwhelmingly to remain in the EU, the Scottish National Party has also spoken openly about Brexit, although it stresses the downsides. In England, the tiny Rejoin EU party is taking the opposite approach, fielding 26 candidates, mostly in London, to campaign for the UK's rejoining the Union. Its leader, Brendan Donnelly, wears a rosette in the blue and yellow colours of the EU flag and knocks on doors to encourage people to support Europe. 2 or 3 years ago, we would have had a lot of hostile reactions. Now it's less, he says. The impact of Brexit continues to linger in the background of British life anyway. When British paratroopers landed in Normandy earlier this month to mark the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, they were met by cheering crowds and French customs officials asking for their passports. That is the realities now. And I had to laugh while I'm saying this. Of course, D-Day is a serious thing. And the 80th anniversary is a very serious thing. That's why I still don't understand why Sunak has left there early. But it's just a perfect example for what's going on. So the paratroopers land there. The people are welcoming them as the reimagination of the heroes of 80 years ago. And then the French customs wants to see their passports because otherwise they would be illegal immigrants. That wouldn't have happened before Brexit, at least. Nevertheless, I forgot to mention yesterday about the thing to all my Scottish viewers, because I know I do have a number of Scottish viewers. I'm really sorry for the game. The opening match between Germany and Scotland. I thought my prediction was different than the outcome. It was just 3 goals for Germany. But I was a bit sorry when I thought this was now like too far. But nevertheless, it was the opening game. What I really loved was all the Scottish visitors here in Germany. They were showing such a perfect example of the Scottish people and the good behavior. Even on their way to Munich, I met a big group of Scottish fans on my main station here when I had to go to city center, and there was so nice people. And some pubs in Munich had a problem that they had no beer anymore after the Scots were there, but there was not a problem, not a single problem at all. And in recent days, or today, for example, when I'm filming this, after the reports we got after the match between England and Serbia about some, I guess it was Serbian fans in that case, that was not good news, but I was really enjoying all the reports about the Scottish fans in Germany, and there was quite a lot of them in Bavaria, and as I said, even here in North Rhine-Westphalia on their way to Munich, and they were all so nice people, and I didn't expect any less. But if you want to see more about politics, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.